ગુડ આફ્ટરનૂન. આજે આપણે ફરીથી અહીંયા ભેગા મળ્યા છે અને આપણી સાથે પ્રોફેસર આઈ સાહેબ ફરીથી તમને ગ્રુપ વિશે જે આગળ વાત કરી હતી તેના માટે આગળ આજે આપણે ડિસ્કશન હાથ ધરીએ છીએ. હું સરને વિનંતી કરીશ કે એમનું લેક્ચર શરૂ કરે.
Friends, today we are going to study notion of a group and we'll prove Lagrange's theorem. Lagrange's theorem is considered one of the most fundamental theorem in groups. It has vast applications in the study of finite groups. In particular, we will see that with the help of Lagrange's theorem, we can classify groups of order 4 and 6. First, we start with the definition of a subgroup. A non-empty subset H of a group is called a subgroup of G if H itself form a group under the same binary operation. Now, in mathematics, we define and then we should have a criteria. If we are given a non-empty subset K of a group G and we want to examine whether K is a subgroup of G or not, by definition we have to verify all the three axioms, and sometimes it is very difficult. And for this we have one simple criteria, and that criteria I am writing down in the form of a theorem. Suppose H is a non-empty subset of group G. Then the following three statements are equivalent. The first is H is a subgroup of G. Second is for each A and B, for each elements A and B belonging to G, if A and B belongs to H, then the first condition that A dot B belongs to H, and second A inverse also belongs to H. And third condition, equivalent condition, is that for each A and B belonging to G, if A and B both belongs to H, then composition AB inverse also belongs to H. First implies 2 is simple and 2 implies 3 is also simple. Just I will show that 3 implies 1. Now, our group, our set is non-empty, and so there exists at least one element A belonging to H. So taking B equal to A, what we get here is A star A inverse equal to E belongs to H. Now E belongs to H and A also belongs to H, and using again this condition, what we get is E star A inverse is equal to A inverse also belongs to H. That means inverse of every element is also an element of H. And finally, suppose A and B are two elements of H. Just now we proved that if A belongs to H, then A inverse belongs to H. And so B belongs to H implies B inverse also belongs to H. Now, A and B inverse belongs to H. Again we take this condition that whenever A and B both belongs to H, then A composition B inverse also belongs to H. And so this implies A composition B inverse that is equal to A composition B also belongs to H. That means the circle is a binary operation in H. Finally, we have to verify that our binary operation is associative. But that is very simple, because if you take any three elements A, B, C belonging to H, then these three elements belongs to G also. And G being a group, associative property obviously satisfied. So these are the simple criteria for a non-empty subset to be a subgroup. Using this criteria, all right, we take some examples. The first example is that set of integers under addition. It is a subgroup of the group of rational numbers under addition. Second is, let us consider G equal to D4. Last time we have studied the group D4, D-hedral group 4, symmetries, the group of the symmetries of square. Here, all right, we get so many subgroups. The first H1 is equal to R0, R1, R2, R3. H2 is equal to R0, R2. H3 is equal to R0 and H. H4 is equal to R0, V. H5 equal to R0, D1. And H6 is equal to R0 and D2. And we note very interesting thing here is that even though the group G equal to D4 is non-commutative, all its subgroups are commutative. Now we give one special subgroup of a given group, and that we take in the form of a theorem. Let us take on the screen. Let G be a group and let A be any element of the group G. Then if you take the set H is equal to all A raised to n belonging to Z, then H becomes a subgroup of G. And it is very simple to prove. Suppose B and C are two elements of H. Then since all the elements are the powers of A, I can write down B is equal to A raised to m and C is equal to A raised to k. And that implies B star inverse is equal to A raised to m into A raised to k inverse. Using the law of indices, we can write down this as A raised to minus k, and that is equal to A raised to m minus k, and that again belongs to H, because m and k being integers, m minus k is also integer, and so it belongs to H, and so by the first theorem it is a subgroup of H. This subgroup is called the cyclic subgroup of G and generated by A, and we denote it by the notation this. Now we take this theorem, motivate us to define a special type of groups, and that we define here. Let us see on the screen. Let G be a group. If you can find out that one element A belonging to G such that G is equal to the cyclic subgroup generated by A, then we say that G is a cyclic group with generator A. Cyclic groups are very important in the study of finite groups. We know that prime numbers are fundamentals in the study of integers. In a similar way, we can say that cyclic groups are fundamental in the study of finite groups. Now let us take some examples. The first example is our familiar example, the set of integers under addition. Here we can see that there are two generators, generator plus 1 and minus 1. And we take one notice here that when we write down as 1 raised to n, our operation is addition, and so it comes out nothing but equal to 1 plus 1 plus 1 n times, and that is equal to we have n. So we should be careful here when we take that 1 raised to n. Second example I am taking is this. take the set of integers modulo 8 and let us say write down the elements. Equivalence class of 1, equivalence class of 2, equivalence class of 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And operation is under addition modulo 8. Then this is also a cyclic group and it has 4 generators. Generator equivalence class of 1, 3, 5 and 7. Okay, now we go to the Lagrange's theorem. Before we come to the Lagrange's theorem, we have to define one relation. If H is any subgroup of the given group G, then with the help of this subgroup H, we can define one relation. That we say that element A and B belonging to G, they are related to each other, related if AB inverse belongs to H. Now here, I am not writing this for simplicity, this notation for binary operation. I am just using it as a multiplication, so it becomes very simple to understand. And that is why I am writing in this way, that element A is related to B if AB inverse belongs to H. What we can say about this relation? This relation is reflexive, very simple to prove. It is symmetric, it is very simple to prove. Only thing what we prove is it is transitive also. That means suppose A, B, C are 3 elements of G, A is related to B and B is related to C. This implies that AB inverse and BC inverse both belongs to H. H being a group, then multiplication also belongs to, that means AB inverse into BC inverse also belongs to H, and that implies AC inverse belongs to H, and that implies that A is related to C. So this relation is reflexive, symmetric and transitive, and so it is an equivalence relation. So if we take the equivalence classes, then equivalence classes will give the partition of the group G. But now our main part is that what are the equivalence classes here? And for that, let us see here. Let us take one element A belonging to G. Then element B belongs to equivalence class of A if and only if B is related to A, if and only if BA inverse belongs to H, if and only if BA inverse is equal to H for some H belonging to H, and that is equivalent to if and only if B is equal to HA for some H belonging to H. Alright, this implies that equivalence class of A is equal to all the elements of the form HA where H belongs to H. And this allows us or inspires us to define a new concept, the right coset of a subgroup H. And we define in this way. Suppose H is a subgroup of group G. Then for element A belonging to G, the set HA is equal to all elements HA where H belongs to H is called the right coset of H in G by an element A. And what we prove here is that equivalent class of A is equal to HA. We can define similarly left cosets also. Because of symmetry, we'll prove only results about the right cosets. So equivalent class here are right cosets. And so using the result for theorem for equivalence class, what we can say is that if we take theorem, suppose H is a subgroup of G. Then the the family of right cosets HA where A belongs to G is a partition of group G. That means that G can be expressed as a union of disjoint equivalence classes. And if you take two distinct equivalence, distinct right cosets, then they are pairwise. That means they are disjoint. Using this result, now it is very simple for us to prove the Lagrange's theorem. Before we prove Lagrange's theorem, we classify groups. We have a group is called a finite group if it has a finite number of elements. Otherwise, it is called an infinite group. If G is a finite group, then number of elements in the group, it is denoted by OG, and it is called order of group G. Now, if we take this group, G is equal to 1, minus 1, I, and minus I. Under operation, that this is a finite group and it has 4 elements, and that says that order of this group G is nothing but is equal to 4. And now we can state the Lagrange's theorem. On the screen we can have Lagrange's theorem. Yes. For any subgroup H of G of finite group G,